Okay, welcome back friends. In this video part, we are dealing with some more concept of Raman spectroscopy. Raman spectroscopy, I had shared earlier two PDF files for a better understanding of the concept. Now I am sharing another part related the extract part or in short concept of Raman spectroscopy. Raman spectroscopy yields similar information to that obtained in microwave and infrared region, although the experimental setup is such that the observations are made in the visible region. It is basically a scattering phenomena due to the target molecule in which the incoming frequency mu I is not equal to the scattered frequency mu s. The difference mu I minus mu s is equal to delta nu, that is known as Raman shift. When we consider this Raman effect or Raman shift, if a molecule undergoes vibratory motion, the polarizability of the polarizability would change periodically by virtue of asymmetric stretching and bending modes of vibration, and thus the oscillating dipole would be superimposable on the vibrational motion of the molecule. Therefore, the change in polarizability delta alpha with time is a necessary and sufficient condition for a molecule to exhibit Raman spectroscopy. According to quantum mechanics, the Raman effect may be regarded as the outcome of collisions of the photons and molecules of the substrate. Assuming a molecule of mass m in the energy state EP with velocity v collided a photon of energy h nu, the molecule would undergo a change in energy state as well as its velocity. The new energy state EQ with velocity v1 of the molecule would, according to law of conservation of energy, imply the change in energy of the photon to h nu 1. Mathematically, the above relation can be expressed as EP plus half mv square plus h nu is equal to EQ plus half mv1 square plus h nu 1. Here incoming photon and emitted photon are represented. Considering the velocity change of the molecule to be negligible, that is half mv square is equal to half v1 square, the above equation reduces to EP plus h nu is equal to EQ plus h nu 1, or we can simplify it as nu 1 is equal to EP minus EQ plus h nu upon h, that is equal to delta E plus nu upon h, that becomes delta nu plus nu. Therefore, delta E is equal to h into delta nu. Thus, we can have the following possibilities. Number 1, when EP is equal to EQ, delta E is equal to 0, that is nu is equal to nu 1. Second condition, when EP is greater than EQ, delta E is equal to positive, that is nu is equal to delta nu plus nu 1. It means the molecules is initially in the excited state and thus same energy is lost to the incident radiation, and nu 1 is greater than nu are called anti-Stokes lines in Raman spectra. Third condition, when EP is less than EQ, then delta E is equal to negative, that is nu is equal to minus delta nu plus nu 1. It means the molecule has absorbed some energy from the incident radiation and nu 1 is less than nu are called Stokes lines in Raman spectra as represented in the figure by parallel vertical lines, which is denoted from left to right. On left side, Stokes lines are represented, and on right hand side of new anti-Stokes lines are represented. Now, the another part of this Raman spectroscopy, let us consider the application part. Application of Raman spectroscopy, as the Raman shift delta nu corresponds to IR region, many useful information can be concluded from Raman spectra. Alike IR spectroscopy, internuclear distance and force constant of a bond can be evaluated from Raman shift. It is particularly useful in detecting the covalent nature of molecule. Inorganic halides do not show any Raman shifts, but non-metallic chlorides and few metallic chlorides like HgCl2 and Hg2Cl2 exhibit Raman shift, indicating their covalent nature. SO4- and SeO4- have definite Raman frequency in the region 800 to 900 per centimeter, but telluric acid show Raman frequency at 648 per centimeter. So this indicates that telluric acid does not form TeO4- ion. Thus it has been suggested that telluric acid is TeOH 6 times and not TH2TeO4 to H2O. This is the example of application of Raman spectroscopy. Raman spectroscopy has an advantage over IR spectroscopy as homopolar diatomic molecules like H2, N2, O2, etc. are IR inactive but Raman active. Similarly, symmetric stretching vibrational mode in case of centrosymmetric molecules like CO2, CH2, C2H2, etc. are IR inactive but Raman active. Thus, IR and Raman spectra are complementary to each other, which in other words called the mutual exclusion of the Raman and IR spectra. So this is the short part from the application and Raman spectroscopy concept. Now let us consider the another thing which is important apart from this UV, IR and Raman spectra, that is important concept attached with the same topic or spectroscopy part unit. So let us see electronic spectra or types of electronic transition. So this electronic transition or type of electronic transitions, when we consider, these are important types of transitions in the electronic spectroscopy. When we consider electronic spectroscopy part, electronic spectroscopy deals with the mode of electronic excitation of the molecules in the UV visible region around 200 to 750 nanometer. In this region, electrons of molecules undergo transition in 4 different ways, namely sigma to sigma star transition, second n to sigma star transition, n to pi star transition, and pi to pi star transition. On application of selection rules, n to sigma star and pi to pi star transitions are usually allowed, whereas n to pi star transitions are forbidden. A exact diagram is represented on the screen showing 1, 2, 3, 4 as numbers and arrow part. Sigma, pi, n, pi star and sigma star are shown in the diagram. Energy shown. Now the order of energy difference involved in the transitions is sigma to sigma star is greater than n to sigma star is greater than pi to pi star is greater than n to pi star. Now when we consider these types of transitions, let us see central idea of these four types of transitions. What does it mean? Number one, sigma to sigma star transition. In this type of electronic transition, a sigma bonding electron is excited to an anti-bonding sigma star orbital, and it is also the highest energy transition. These transitions can occur only in the compounds in which all the electrons are involved in the single bonds and there are no lone pair of electrons left. Usually, saturated hydrocarbons exhibit sigma sigma star transition, which occurs in the UV region. Here, lambda max of methane is found at 121.7 nanometer, and for C2H6 it is found at 135 nanometer. Now, the another type of electronic transition is N2 sigma star transition. In this type of electronic transition, a non-bonding electron is excited to an anti-bonding sigma star orbital, and it is the next highest transition after sigma to sigma star transition. Saturated compounds with non-bonding lone pair of electrons exhibit sigma to sigma star transition in addition to sigma to sigma star transition. Usually, molecules containing oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur or X atoms and no pi molecular orbital are capable of showing N2 sigma star transition primarily. This type of transition is associated with near UV region 180 to 200 nanometer. For example, TMS, trimethyl amine, absorbs at 227 nanometer N2 sigma star transition, and at 99 nanometer sigma to sigma star transition. Third type of transition, that is pi to pi star transition. In this type of electronic transition, a pi bonding electron is excited to an anti-bonding pi star orbital, and the energy required is less than sigma to sigma star and N2 sigma star transition, but higher than N2 pi star transition. In case of cis and trans isomer of a molecule, the latter absorbs at a longer wavelength with greater intensity. The difference becomes more prominent as the length of the conjugated system increases. Actually, coplanarity is required for most effective overlap of the pi orbitals, and lower would be the energy for pi to pi star transition. Of the two isomers, the cis isomers is more likely to be forced into a non-coplanar conformation due to steric effects. Hence, the trans isomer absorbs at longer wavelength with high intensity. Then another type of transition is N to pi star transition. In this type of electronic transition, a non-bonding electron is excited to an anti-bonding pi star orbital, and it is the lowest energy transition. This type of transition are usually exhibited by unsaturated molecules containing atoms like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, etc. In case of aldehydes and ketones, the band due to N to pi star transition usually occurs in the range 270 to 300 nanometer. On the other hand, carbonyl compounds have double bonds separated by two or more single bonds exhibit the bond at 300 to 300 nanometer. In aldehydes and ketones, N to pi star transition arises due to the excitation of lone pair of electron in the 2 pi orbital of the oxygen atom to the antibonding pi star orbital of the carbonyl group. Now, when we consider the types of transitions, we have to remember these four types of transition, this diagram and the specific characters of these four types of transitions. So whatever the information which is shown on the screen, that we have to keep in mind for our understanding of these types of electronic transition concept. In latter part, we are going to deal with potential energy curve and Frank Condon principle in the next part. So watch this video and remember the important concept from this. Thank you.